winning team here will improve to 11-2, likely top 8s.
Right.
I don't want to say for certain it's a lock, but I would strongly bet that this is a match for top 8.
Yeah.
So looking across the board, we have Peter Brandi on Affinity versus Dan Jessup's Grixis Shadow. That's always a close one in Modern. And mentioned it, only one player on Mono Black Zombies in today too here, but that's Kyle Apgar. He's the player over in Standard.
And facing down Mono Red Aggro, in particular if Jim won the draw there, that'd be really good. The Entomb finding the Griselbrand here. That's going to be the best reanimation target in the dark. The other 3 options are Elish Norn, Iona, or Grave Titan. Those are contextually better. You get Grave Titan against the Karakas decks. You get Iona against decks that are only casting 1 color of spells. And Elish Norn against stuff like Elves.
Yeah, and this is interesting. If you're on Kevin's side, Entomb Griselbrand is not that unexpected, but basic Swamp Do It main phase is a bit of a red flag.
That is something that the other deck has access to. The second Swamp, though, tells you there's no blue
cards. Second basic
cards.
Swamp, yeah. Then you think, what's going on here? Second basic, and it's Reanimate, targeting Griselbrand.
I suppose with this build of the deck, there's going to be some games where you Entomb for the Hex Mage as well, which is pretty cool.
Ooh, I like that. Crop rotation from Kevin King in response to Reanimate. Does he have a main deck Bog?
He has a main deck Karakas, and that's what he finds.
Okay.
That one's not as good as Bog, but still quite powerful here. You're not going to lose to that Griselbrand.
Yeah, he'll take the Karakas, get crop rotated into it. It's going to bounce Griselbrand. Andrew's going to pay 7 to draw 7. He can pay again if he'd like. Lands doesn't really care if you go to 5.
Well, he used Reanimate to get the Griselbrand, so
Oh, right, so he can pay once.
Can't do that. This will allow him to discard naturally for the turn, try to figure something out. If he picked up, say, that Grave Titan and some way to get that one back.
Yeah, he has a lot of fast mana.
Actually, so this build, so he does have 4 Exhume. He does not have Animate Deaths. That was one of the things that got cut, making room for the Dark Depths package.
Right, he can, if you're looking at fast mana, he has Dark Ritual, Lotus Petal, which he can find here. This is interesting to see what he'll keep.
Vampire X-Mage among the holdings.
Yeah, he discarded a Dark Depths because Karakas is still in play. And this Karakas is actually tough for him to deal with. He does not play Wasteland.
Right. It would be a good Beseech the Queen target, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, this was one of our concerns, was not will Andrew execute his combo? He probably will. The question is, will it win?
Right. Yeah, Karakas really good against most of the stuff he's doing. And if he goes for Grave Titan, he can just lose to Tabernacle.
And so Kevin going to gamble here on the second turn.
And this is one of those spots where the red-black Reanimator deck, if you made the early Sire of Insanity, that would be lights out. The fact that that creature is not legendary just makes it so hard for most decks to recover. It's just a Craw Worm, gives you some time. There's no way that Phillips just goes for Grave Titan in the dark, though it is the one target here that would beat the Karakas.
Right. Outside of Grave Titan, though, that's...
Got a legendary Iona, legendary Elish Norn, legendary Griselbrand, and a Hex Mage to make a legendary Dark Depths Merit Lage token.
So he does have a 1-of Pithing Needle in the main. He can find it with Beseech the Queen. That's one of his only answers to this Karakas.
Yeah. Yeah, in the main deck, that's really it. Other than that, his plan is Hex Mage beat down against this punishing fire deck.
Here is Urborg. Now, and you Pithing Needle at Karakas still makes white mana, but second ability.
Yeah, it can name any card, doesn't do anything to mana abilities.
Dark Ritual, Beseech the Queen from Andrew Phillips. and Kevin's like, no, he's not conceding. He wants to read your card.
I've never conceded to a tutor before.
Beseech the Queen, now you got me. All right, they're going to take a look at that, and so will we. Card from Shadowmoor. We'll cycle these. The 6 colorless or 3 black, or anything in between. It's the Kind of like same with the Spectral Procession cycle here. The black one, though, you search for any card with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of lands you control.
Yep.
So you do have to show it, and he will get the one of Pithing Needle.
That one should be coming down, naming Caracas. And that'll make things
Absolutely.
tougher for King.
Yeah, King's deck doesn't have an answer to Caracas or to Pithing Needle in the main.
Nope.
So Caracas is done.
If he sets up Maze of Ith, that's still good against the legendary creatures until Phillips shows up with 2 of them.
And Collective Brutality from Phillips. Is he going to escalate?
Thinking about discarding something.
It's going to discard Reanimate. It doesn't really do anything outside of reanimating, I guess, a Vampire Hexmage. He takes Kevin's life from the loam and leaves Kevin with a hand of Maze of Ith, Wasteland, and it looks like Tranquil Thicket.
And double Maze of Ith means that there's even more work for Phillips to do from this point.
Andrew escalated to gain 2 life. Means if he does it again, that's a Griselbrand activation or a Reanimate.
Sure. Yeah, the escalation there, discarding Reanimate, doesn't really do a ton. You generally want to escalate every time if you have a creature you want to put in your graveyard.
Yeah, I think the escalation happened just because the Reanimate's not a real card, so might as well discard it.
Yeah, it doesn't have enough life to play with that one. And Kevin King has found his Thespian Stage. No Dark Depths of his own just yet.
Yeah, there's one in his graveyard, so he can loam it back. But see, he'll instead Wasteland away the Urborg. First game results in over on the Modern table. It's Peter Bandy and Affinity taking game 1 over Dan Jessup's Grixis Shadow deck. Phillips makes Vampire Hexmage. And Kevin will cycle Tranquil Thicket, dredging life from the loam. Looking for Punishing Fire, Grove of the Burn Willows, maybe, to answer this?
He has got plenty of time before he has to care about the 2-1. Though, if another Dark Depths is around there for Phillips, that Pithing Needle, in addition to that, will make the 20-20.
Yeah, make the 20-20. Now, Kevin has a couple Maze of Iths in his hand, so that part's okay. But no exploration. His deck's going to be pretty slow here.
Right. Yeah, you can't really... I suppose if he dredges Loam, if he found exactly Punishing Fire plus Grove, he could get it.
He loams back Thespian Stage, Dark Depths, and Tranquil Thicket, and then passes the turn. And now we see an attack with Vampire Hexmage. Kevin goes to 15. We'll see a Pithing Needle from Phillips.
And at this stage, with the Thespian Stage there, with the Dark Depths known, you kind of want to go for that.
And Pithing Needle on Caracas, plays Dark Depths. This is going to force Kevin to play that Maze of Ith.
Right, which he's pretty fine doing.
Yeah. And with only one Pithing Needle, we're at a spot again where Andrew's executing his combo, but I don't know how he wins.
Yeah, just multiple activated abilities that check that.
Right. Iona's in his hand. He can try to make... He could Iona on green, try to make more monsters than Kevin has mazes, but between Thespian Stage, it just doesn't do much. Another Hexmage for Phillips.
And King did Wasteland the Urborg that was played several turns ago by Phillips. If that was still on the battlefield, King could have used the Maze of Ith to activate the Thespian Stage. Just copy Phillips's Dark Depths.
And a natural draw here for Kevin yields an Exploration. Plays another Maze of Ith.
No damage off those Hex Mages.
Yeah, getting through 2 mages. Phillips could use another Pithing Needle.
There's Grove of the Burn Willows plus Verdant Catacombs for Kevin King.
In Standard, first result in, Mono Red Aggro in the hands of Jim Davis takes game 1. You mentioned that that's a deck so low to the ground could be difficult for zombies to deal with.
And King does have Thespian Stage and Phillips has Dark Depths, but if King goes for that, Phillips could just Hex Mage on his own depths to just destroy the land.
Oh, wow, yeah, you can Thespian Stage off your opponent's Dark Depths. Well, he has multiple Thespian Stages.
And he has multiple Hex Mage.
Oh. Well, in a land situation, Lands is okay with that. He can always loam his back.
Right. King has time. He's going to combo pretty soon here. No real rush. The mazes check everything that's coming out of Phillips' deck.
Yeah. It looks like the story for game one is going to be that Phillips has a couple combos. You see he both made Gristlebrand and Hexmage depth this game. But his combos aren't good enough at winning. He's going to need some defense for the combos. Kevin was actually able to just contain both of them.
Right.
You see the Vampire Hexmages keep bouncing off those Maze of Iths. And yeah, both players just keep passing. Thespian Stage now in play as well for Andrew Phillips.
Yeah.
Many ways to make Merit Lage.
And his hand is just full of nonsense. Couple Lotus Petals, Iona that he'll never be able to cast.
Well, he can always, and this is maybe what Kevin's worried about, he can always make the 2020 and block Kevin's 2020. That'll take Kevin a while to get through, which he eventually will, but...
And from 7, if he finds Punishing Fire, that actually closes the game pretty quickly.
Where from 7, you see Kevin's actually found a Ghost Quarter here too, so eventually he can start going the route of Quarter Loam to blow up all of Andrew's lands.
Right.
Just 10 basic swamps, so that actually will take a while, but Thespian Stage copying Ghost Quarter. I see a lot of lines for Kevin to eventually win. My question would be, does Andrew Phillips have any lines to play here?
I think that all of Phillips' lines involve King making some kind of mistake and losing the game himself. You know, there is just the one needle, can't shut off Maze of Ith, no wastelands still.
Is there a route where Phillips naturally plays lands and just starts to cast his finishers?
Can't really cast 2 a turn. Well, yeah, maybe he just gets a bunch on the table, say Grave Titan.
Iona on, yeah, somehow discards Iona, exhumes Iona on green.
Or finds another Lotus Petal and casts it.
Yeah.
Eventually, King's going to find Punishing Fire.
Right.
And it's either going to kill Phillips or it can clean up the Hex Mage, allow the Maze of Ith to go for larger creatures. Kind of the widest board Phillips can assemble involves Grave Titan.
Light from the loam from Kevin. He's going to try to loam through this quickly so he gets back that Tranquil Thicket. That'll help him dig through his deck very quickly.
Yeah, Phillips' best chance of winning the game do involve getting Grave Titan on the battlefield, trying to go a little bit wide there.
See, Kevin uses that Wasteland he got back to take care of the Thespian Stage. Phillips back down to 4 lands. And yeah, if Phillips' out is to cast all these monsters, then what Kevin's doing in terms of the Wastelands and Ghost Quarters is going to be the right approach. And Tomb from Andrew. He's kind of just showing more of his deck. It's going to be Grave Titan.
There usually is some non-legendary creature somewhere in the mix.
Yeah.
Grave Titan is a popular one.
Yeah, you mentioned a Grave Titan, a Sire of Insanity, non-legendary.
Tidespout Tyrant.
Right.
So just the Grave Titan in this particular build. Likely because of his cast ability off of Dark Ritual.
Yeah, when you're that card is, you can get to 6 with Petals and Rituals for sure. Kevin going to crop rotate away his Karakas. It doesn't really work anyway, so might as well upgrade it into Barbarian Ring, and he'll start shooting down the Vampire Hexmages.
Win condition online.
In response, looks like Andrew's going to use Hexmage targeting his own Dark Depths.
Yep, that's still checked by Maze of Ith.
response, Kevin's going to Thespian stage the very same Dark Depths. So it looks like Kevin will get a Merit Lage. Will Andrew get a Merit Lage?
Yeah, I believe that set Thespian stage, that's still on Ghost Quarter. You can go for that now, and then again in response to the other Hex Mage.
Yeah, Merit Lage for Kevin. So now there's that Hex Mage trigger on the stack. See if any player has another response. And Kevin's not even that concerned about Merit Lage.
Right.
It's not
If both
attacking.
players have a 20/20.
Kevin doesn't know how many Pithing Needles Phillips plays, to be fair. We do.
Right. Even still, though, just because he already has Merit Lage, he can just block that one indefinitely.
So he'll Ghost Quarter the Dark Depths, and Phillips will use the other Hex Mage in response. And that Thespian stage looks like actually just Thespian stage, so Phillips will get his own 20/20. Not that it can attack, but it's there.
This is all still fine for King.
He'll port a swamp on end step. There we go.
Not leaving any mana on the table here.
It's just free value. Better tap his land.
And that Barbarian Ring plus Life from the Loam will close the game in a couple short turns here.
Yeah, why not? Kevin drudges Life from the Loam. Finds
Mana Bond, Gamble, I think Wasteland.
Wasteland, yeah.
Nothing of significance. Unfortunately, with Exploration plus Life from the Loam, Barbarian Ring, you can still only do it once a turn. It's not like we saw Todd Stevens earlier with extra land drops plus playing the lands directly out of the graveyard.
Barbarian Ring, yeah, Kevin's just going to start shooting, so Andrew's down to 5. Cycles Tranquil Thicket, dredging Life from the Loam. This is a way to cast Loam multiple times in the same turn.
Yeah, and there's Punishing Fire as well.
Yeah.
That'll speed things up.
Yeah, cast Loam gets back that Grove of the Burn Willows and the Barbarian Ring and the Tranquil Thicket. Had to have Andrew gain a life to cast the Loam off Grove. So Andrew back up to 6. It's a slow way to burn out your opponent. You see Caracas played out of the graveyard here for King.
Pretty much a Plains at this stage in the game. Needle still on that one.
And more dredging comes up. Here's Barbarian Ring. 2 more damage. Phillips down to 4. Dredges Loam. And until he has multiple Punishing Fires in the graveyard, this is the faster way to burn out his opponent. Right now, 1 Punishing Fire.
And from 4, just 2 more activations and the Ring gets him there.
Yeah, plays Ring again. So Ring was both his land drops this turn. Yeah, discards to hand size. He'll discard a Dark Depths, sure.
Yeah, that one doesn't really mean anything anymore.
Yeah, and actually he probably doesn't want to. I guess I was going to say he doesn't want to play it because his opponent can Thespian stage it, but he already has the 20/20.
Yeah, both players with Merit Lage.
Yeah. Kevin says, all right, end step, sacrifice Barbarian Ring. Going to kill you with this. Andrew doesn't have an answer. So game 1 goes over to Lance. It's going to go to Kevin King.
Very convincing win there for the Lands deck as well. This crop rotation from Caracas, and Phillips was really up against the wall at that point. King naturally drew Mazeth as well.
So this is going to be an interesting one for sideboarding. I do want to start with Andrew Phillips' sideboard. So the issue with his deck here he got to execute both his combos. He reanimated Gristlebrand, he made Merit Lage, neither of them won. So he's going to have to do something to address that, and let's see what he has in his sideboard.
Yeah, so in the sideboard, 4 Leyline of the Void, 2 Unmask, 2 Nature's Ruin, 2 Surgical Extraction, a Collective Brutality, a Null Rod, an Engineered Plague, an Extirpate, and a Helm of Obedience. So a lot of times, strategy against lands does involve these Surgical Extraction, Extirpate effects. They're quite good against Life from the Loam. But what I really like is kind of a transformational combo here. Phillips with 4 Leyline out of the Void. That's on its face. It's really good against the Dredge package. And then Helm of Obedience is a win condition that can't be shut off by any lands.
Right, it's just an artifact. It's an artifact that when Leyline's in play, just wins the game. I mean, Leyline of the Void's a slam dunk. He's already boarding those in. If he already has 4 of them in because the matchup's good, I imagine that the helm's in play.
Yeah, I like this strategy a lot here.
Now, how much graveyard hate do you want? It's interesting that Andrew has both Leyline of the Void and Surgical Extraction in his deck. I mean, they're both good against lands. If you have the turn 1 Leyline, okay, the Surgical's bad, but do you bring them all in?
So the way his deck's configured, I feel like the Hex Mage combo is pretty expendable in a matchup like this.
Okay, so we can leave out all the Hex Mages.
You got a lot of room. It's a lot of stuff that you can cut pretty easily. And it doesn't hurt to go really heavy on stuff that stops your opponent from playing the game. You know, the lands deck is very bad without Life from the Loam. And he's got a lot of basic lands, so he can't really get wastelanded out of the game.
All right, so on Kevin's side, though, he has more interaction. He has 4 Sphere of Resistances. That's for usually different types of combo decks, but might be good here. 3 Krosan Grip. If he's expecting Leyline on the Void, I assume he'll need them. And then a Bazooka Bog, Ancient Tomb, a second Tranquil Thicket, an Ancient Grudge, a Chalice of the Void, a Thorn of Amethyst, and a Seismic Assault.
So the Bazooka Bog for sure is another crop
Easy.
rotation target.
Yep.
That one's pretty great. Likely the Krosan Grip. You know, if you expect any kind of thing like Leyline of the Void at all, you just have to have this card in your deck. Could go for the Sphere plan to slow the opponent down. It's fine. Against Reanimator, it's a bit worse than against the strictly spell-based combo decks.
I kind of agree. Andrew didn't really use his mana after the 3rd turn.
Right.
The Krosan Grips are interesting, but there's nothing like a Pithing Needle. That Helm Leyline is going to just be good against Kevin.
Right. Yeah, the Krosan Grip really the only out to that.
All right, some updates from our other matches. In our standard match, Kyle Apgar takes game 2 over Jim Davis. You see the 2 of them shuffling up for the 3rd and deciding game. But 2 players who aren't shuffling are the modern players, because Peter Brandi wins both games with Affinity. It's a 2-0 win for their team.
Affinity actually the most played modern deck in day 2 of the tournament.
Yeah, Affinity doing quite well this weekend. Surprising that we haven't seen it yet. It's our first team playing it. Yeah, you're right. There are 7 more. In a lot of ways in Modern, Affinity is looking to be one of the, I mean, and I know it sounds weird to say one of the top decks, but when you say the short list of what are the top 3 decks in Modern, I think Affinity's on, it's got to be on everyone's list at this point. It won a Grand Prix.
Yeah, it's in a really good spot
right now.
right
It's in a really good spot. Or StarCGames.com. There's still time left today to check out our weekly sale. It's been 20% off select full art basic lands. It's a great time to get them, I know, in bulk for your cube or for your standard decks. Depends on what deck you play. Your mono black zombies deck.
Get some basic planes for your Legacy Death and Taxes deck.
You're gonna need a lot of those.
Or modern.
Or modern. Oh wow. But those are on sale through today. So head on over to StarCityGames.com and check us out tomorrow morning when we have next week's weekly sale. Mulligan here for Andrew Phillips.
Reanimator's a deck that generally does mulligan a lot.
Yeah. Well, especially the ones that play no blue cards.
Right.
Like the one that I like. A lot of the avenues of attack from Phillips's deck. This is a really neat way to play it. The concern is that his deck just draws an opening hand and hopes it's enough.
Right.
There's no interaction, and there's very light interaction and no very light card filtering and searching. So you're almost in when the gameplay is almost in the Goblin Charbelcher end of things, or the mono red sneak attack, where you just draw your opening hand and say, did I win?
Yeah, it takes a smaller number of spells to get there, so your mulligans are on average significantly better than the Belcher deck, and also you generally are more live to top deck, but yeah, the philosophy is very similar.
Okay, game 2 is going to be interesting here because both players are mulliganing to 5. Now, I see lands decks mulligan to 5 plenty. Eventually, I mean, there's very keepable 5s. I don't know about the Depths Reanimator deck, but he does have Leyline of the Void, and if he has that, that could be great.
Yeah, turn 0 Leyline, it makes a lot of hands. You force King to find one of those Croson Grips, assuming they're in the deck, before he can really even do too much.
So some updates here. The undefeated streak continues for Tom Ross's team. They defeat the team of Kevin Jones, Harlan Fear, and Tannen Grace. That deals the 3rd loss for Tannen's team. For Tom Ross and Todd Stevens and Jody Keith, this is just
still the
one seed, definitely the 1 seed.
Gonna go figure out if Lightning Helix was good for Harlan and his team let him down, or if this was another beat for the Jeskai deck.
So Tannen's team will drop to 10-3. Now we do have to have a correction from earlier. We misstated the records of the teams in our feature match. We believe them to be 10-2. They're actually both 9-3, so this is not a win and in for top 8.
Sure.
And
so this is something you don't see too often. Kevin King on lands missed his first land drop.
Should have played more lands.
Looks like he's kept a hand that has Mox Diamond, Crop Rotation, Maze of Ith.
So if he has another land, this hand plays.
He's kind of biding his time to see if the Maze of Ith is good, or if that's the land he wants to discard to the Diamond.
Well, Andrew's not doing much. Played Thespian Stage and Swamp and then started passing. And now Kevin hits a 2nd land. It was going to happen eventually here. He plays so many Grove of the Burn Willows as his play.
This is what's kind of delightful, the difference between Legacy and Standard. When a player mulligans to 5, or both players mulligan to 5 in Standard, the game's decided by like whoever gets the first Grizzly Bear. You know, it just like gets on the board with some garbage. In Legacy, just nothing happens. Just nothing. And then one player is going to do something crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Legacy decks are notoriously land light because to play Legacy, your curve has to be so low to the ground. You just don't get to play expensive cards, which means your land counts just get down below 20 frequently.
Good chance we see the Reanimator deck discard to hand size, the best way to get a creature in your graveyard.
Not horrible. He has an Exhume. You see, in the meantime, Kevin has made up to 3 lands, including one of them as Rishadan Port. Andrew will actually discard the Exhume to hand size.
Okay, that one's curious. I suppose right now his 2nd land was the stage, so he only had 1 black source. He just gets ported off of that.
Kevin is winning the top deck here. He wastelands away the stage and now draws another land. He's double porting Andrew.
Well, actually, it looks like there's a Lotus Petal there, and Grave Titan was in hand. He might have had an out to resolve that Exhume here.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. Kevin's going to Bazooka Bog away his graveyard, so that's gone now. As he continues porting both of Andrew's lands.
Possibly Andrew respecting that possibility.
Sure, it discards another Exhume. And with a Wasteland now drawn from Kevin King, he'll get rid of the Thespian Stage. It's unclear if Andrew's going to ever get to cast a spell.
Legacy.
He's drawn Leyline of the Void, a couple of them even.
Right on time.
Discards Vampire Hexmage. And here's Dark Depths for Kevin. It's half the combo. Ooh, 6-4 now. Are you 6-4 or 5-5?
Definitely 6-4. You got to maximize every individual die and move on to the next one.
See, I see arguments for both. See, 6-4 is like the computer science answer. It's the good iterative one where you say, I max out one die, then I start on the next one. And that's how I do it.
One of my goals in life is to drive comp sci people as crazy as they drive me.
Then you should do it 5-5. And say like, no, I keep the dice as close to even with each other as possible. And the best one is when you get to 6, don't put a 6 on it, do 3 and 3. And then it's really gonna get to them.
And some crop rotating here, and Kevin King has found his dark depths, goes to this thespian stage, makes 20-20. Pressure on Phillips to do anything.
Something, anything. He's tapped out. This is your first chance with mana. Let the dark rituals fly. We're about to take 20s. You need something. He does have Dark Ritual Lotus Petal. He might even have more than one Dark Ritual. So Andrew will make a play.
He has a Collective Brutality to put himself to 22.
Ooh,
so he could buy a turn that way.
All right.
And on the following turn, King very likely to double port Phillips in his upkeep. Doesn't look like he'll be able to convert any large monster, and really all of his monsters are just bad here. If he had access to the Tidespout Tyrant that you see in many Reanimator decks, that one could potentially make us up.
It's the second game where we would have liked to have seen a Tidespout Tyrant.
Right.
I think if you want to play this Depths Reanimator deck and you're looking to improve your land matchup, that's where I would start.
Land's certainly not one of the most popular decks in Legacy.
Right. There's kind of a physical barrier to that happening. We see a swing for 20. Andrew goes to 2. He went Dark Ritual and did gain that 2 off Collective Brutality. But Maze of Ith for Kevin. And Andrew does not have an answer. So Kevin King with lands. 2-0 is your winner. That's a match for the Metagame Gurus side. And now at 1 match apiece, it's going to fall to our standard players.
Yep.
For standard players, and it looks like that finishes at just the same time. So it's going to be Jim Davis taking the win. He and Kevin King win their second game at the same time. So despite Dan Jessup losing the middle seat, it is the